Welcome back to the Beer Junkies. Today we are brewing a British Golden Ale. The British Golden Ale is a hop-forward golden beer with a bready, biscuity malt character paired with a citrusy hop profile. It is a highly drinkable beer that is a key component to this style, and it is the perfect addition to a summer tap list. Unfortunately, it is not nearly as popular as it should be. We're going to walk you through our ingredients, the malts we use, the water profile, the hops, and the yeast. Also going to walk you through our process, the mashing, mash out, the sparge, the boil, whirlpool, knockout, fermentation. At the very end, we're going to walk you through that taste test. So let's get started. The water profile for our British Golden Ale is 50 parts per million of calcium, 5 parts per million of sodium, 75 parts per million of sulfate, and 60 parts per million of chloride. To do that, I'm adding calcium chloride, gypsum, and Epsom salt. I'll add that to both the mash water and the sparge water to get a consistent water profile throughout the whole brewing process. Right now, I have the hot liquor tank heating up and filling up to the right temperature and volume. So while that's getting ready, let's go over those grains we're going to be using. The grain bill for this British Golden Ale is very simple, with just 80 to 85% of Maris Otter as my base. That will build up that rich malty character with those bready and biscuity flavors that I want to come through. And to that, I just add 15 to 20% of wheat malt. That will add a doughy, grainy flavor, and it's at a low enough percentage that I won't have to worry about it building up the body too much, especially since that wheat malt is pretty well modified. Right now, the mash water is ready, so let's mash that in. This is our mashing setup. We are pulling wort from the bottom of the mash tun, pushing it through our pump through the Herms coil to maintain our temperature, and we recirculate the whole time to set up our grain bed filter. We mash our British Golden Ale at 152 degrees Fahrenheit for about 60 minutes. Right now we have about 10 minutes left in our mash. Once we get to the end of that timer, we will begin to raise it to 168 degrees Fahrenheit for mash out. Our 60-minute timer is up, so now we are mashing out. With the same setup as before, we are still pulling the wort from the bottom of the mash tun, pushing it through our pump through the Herms coil, but now the hot liquor tank is heating up to about 178 degrees, which will raise this mash temperature up to 168 degrees over the course of about 15 minutes. Once we get to 168 degrees, we will begin to sparge. We just got to 168 degrees, so now we are sparging. Pulling wort from the bottom of the mash tun, we are pushing it through our pump, but now it's directed towards the boil kettle, which is heating up as it fills up to reduce the time it takes to get to a boil. At the same time, we are pulling our sparge water from the hot liquor tank, pushing it through our water pump, and rinsing the residual sugars left in the grains. While the boil kettle is heating up, let's go over the hops we're going to be using. At 60 minutes, I add between 18 and 20 IBUs of East Kent Goldings. At 30 minutes, I add between 9 and 10 IBUs of East Kent Goldings. And at flame out, I add 1 ounce per 5 gallons of First Gold. Those East Kent Goldings additions will add a smooth bitterness along with an earthy and honey character, and that First Gold will add all that citrus flavor we want. We just got to a boil, so we will boil for 90 minutes. I'll add the hops in as needed. At 10 minutes, I add a yeast nutrient, and at 5 minutes, I add Rolflock tablets as my finding agent. We just finished the boil, so now we are whirlpooling, pulling wort from the bottom of the boil kettle, pushing it through our pump through the tangential input to create a vortex inside that boil kettle to pull all of the hops and proteins to the center so that we do not push them into the fermenter during knockout. We just finished the whirlpool, so now we are knocking out, pulling wort from the bottom of the boil kettle, pushing it through our pump, through the heat exchanger, which is knocking it down to just above 60 degrees, and then we are also injecting our oxygen here. For this British Golden Ale, I use the London Ale 3 yeast from Yeast. I will pitch this at 64 degrees Fahrenheit and let that free rise up to 67 degrees as fermentation starts. I'll hold it here for about a week or until we are 4 specific gravity points away from our terminal gravity, which for this beer is 1012 with a terminal gravity of about 1008. Once we reach this point, I will again let it free rise up to 72 degrees for that diacetyl rest. After about 48 hours at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, I will cold crash it to 33 degrees. I'll hold it there for about 24 hours, then I will transfer it to our bright tank, carbonate it to about 2.5 volumes of CO2, keg it, and then enjoy. All right, this is what we've got. We have a beautiful golden color. It is crystal clear. It has a lasting white head. For the smell, the citrus is dominant. I get a lot of that orange flavor from those first gold hops. But there are subtle hints of that earthiness from the East Kent Goldings. On the very back end, I get some of that graininess. For the taste, it's very similar to the aroma. The citrus is up front, and that biscuity, bready malt flavor is on that back end. It's very, very pleasant, very drinkable. There's a noticeable bitterness, but it's not firm. It helps me want another sip. That was a very nice style. If you're over the age of 21, we do not condone underage drinking. Please drink responsibly. Cheers. Thank you for sticking around till the end of this video. If you would like to be part of a more cohesive Beer Junkies community, I have just created a Patreon page that can help do that. It starts at $3 a month, and it will have access to a community forum, exclusive beer recipes. I'll help work through some beer recipe modifications for your system, troubleshooting, live Q&As, and basically whatever else you guys would want. I'll put the link below in the bio, but feel free to check it out. There is a 7-day free trial. And again, if you'd like to keep getting these videos, make sure you click that subscribe button right below and let me know what you want to see next in the comments. Cheers.